The board passes a new policy on Monday night at the regular board meeting. By Tuesday morning, your inbox is flooded from parents who read 2 sentences of the legal language and decided the absolute worst about the new policy. They also think you're the worst. If I were still sitting in the superintendent chair, putting together the plain language version that fixes that problem would take me somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes. I'd be doing it between meetings, half distracted, knowing that there's no way it could possibly be my best work. In the next few minutes, I'm going to drop a dense board policy into Claude Cowork and walk you through how to create a parent-readable one-page document that you can send out to them in an email. Same content, 2 different documents. If you don't know who I am, I'm Steve Troyer. I spent 22 years in public education, 15 of those were as a school administrator, and the last 5 were as a public school superintendent in Indiana. I'm the founder of Willow Run Group and EdLeader AI, and I help school leaders integrate AI into their day-to-day work to free them up to do the things that only they can do. Every district has the same issue. Board policies are written for lawyers. Family communications need to be written for parents that are reading and accessing these files on their phone. The difference there is where trust gets lost. A policy that's reasonable in the boardroom is going to read as cold or punitive when a parent only sees that legal version. So the superintendent or the communications director has to sit down and write the warm version. It's going to take an hour to an hour and a half. Maybe longer if it's a hot button policy, and if it involves your principals and other school leaders, it may take multiple revisions to weigh in. It's going to take a lot of time. Most leaders I talk to do this multiple times a year. Some districts do it regularly. The work is real. It's also the kind of work that Claude Cowork was built for. All right, here we are back in Cowork, and you're going to notice that we have already selected the Maple Ridge Community Schools project folder that we created during the last episode. I want to show you the actual folder that this lives in. Here's the Maple Ridge Community Schools project folder, and you notice I've got a few things that have been already loaded in here. So we've got our district profile that we created in the last episode. I've also added a brand guide for this district, and now I've got a policy explanation folder which houses 3 different things. File 1 is going to be the board policy itself. This is a real looking policy in policy style language. It's dense, it's full of citations, and it's the kind of document that a parent just isn't going to read. The second file is a list of all the questions that a parent typically would ask about this type of situation. I wrote these out from memory, and these are the same kinds of questions that I got every time we rolled out a new policy, especially in this case related to cell phones and technology. The third file is a sample of how the district usually writes to parents. It's in plain language, it's warm, and it's the tone that I want Claude to match as it's creating documents and communication for this particular use case. Now that I've got Claude pointed in the right direction, I'm getting ready to enter this prompt. Let me read it to you. Hey Claude, you are in the Maple Ridge Community Schools folder. Inside it is a folder called Policy Explanation. I want you to turn the cell phone policy into a 1-page explainer for families. Match the tone in the parent communication sample, address the likely questions in plain language, and lead with why we're doing this. I'm going to go ahead and send that off to Claude, and you're going to see that it's going to start referencing these files. So it's going into the project folder, and it's going to read the different files that are inside of that folder. All right, now one of the things after Claude read through all the documents that I have available in that folder is it came back and it said, what format do you want the 1-page explainer delivered in? You can have it as a plain markdown file, which is going to be very similar to just a plain text file. You can have it created in a Word document. You could also have it created as a branded PDF. That's what I'm going to select. Now, if you didn't have a brand guide in there, for example, it may not ask you this question. So it would potentially go through and create the markdown file, and then you could turn around and say, hey, go ahead and create that into a PDF for me so that I've got that packaged up and I can send it out to my parents in an email. I'm going to select the branded PDF and we'll see what it comes up with. Okay, so the way Claude went about doing this is it first created the actual content to use, and now it's going to create a PDF document. Claude said, I framed this as starting with reminders, not heavy consequences, while still pointing to the student code of conduct. And then the other thing it said is, there's a placeholder for the superintendent name, etc. So I said, those look fine. For the PDF, I want a nice, clean, white background. Be professional, use the whole page. Don't put too much dense text on the page and make it look great. Let's send this off. All right, so it is on top of that using the read skill and the PDF skill to create this up. We'll show you here in just a minute what it looks like. All right, so this finally landed, and what we have is a really nice looking, well put together PDF document that was based upon the file and the content that was created in this particular Markdown file. If you want to see what Markdown actually looks like, this is the plain text version of that. Here is the PDF document, and honestly, I think it really did a great job at this. Looks well put together. It's professional. It is fairly condensed in terms of text content, so that may be something that we want to tweak. Overall, we're able to take this PDF document and download that and send it out to our families. So I think that's great. Maybe a little back and forth on design styling, but it should be able to handle that pretty quickly. I want to talk about for just a minute why this works. First, Cowork is a workspace and not a chat window. So the project itself is going to hold all of the files, the policy, the example parent questions, and the tone sample. The model is going to see all three of those plus any other additional context that we provided in that project folder every time that we interact with Claude Cowork. That's why the output is district specific instead of just generic AI writing. The second reason is that the prompt actually names the audience. We're talking about, in this case, families, parents that are reading this on a phone, not necessarily written for general consumption. The model can only match a target that it's been pointed to. And in this case, we've given it explicit instructions about who we want this tailored to. The third reason is that the tone sample does the heavy lifting in terms of voice development. I didn't describe what I wanted in adjectives. I actually provided an example to Claude of what has worked well before. What is it that we have done before that we feel like is a good representation of the work that we put out? That's always the most important move with AI. Show, don't describe. So what if you wanted to run this in your district? All you've got to do is swap out the files. You're going to drop in your actual board policy. You're going to come up with a list of questions that you think parents are going to be likely to ask. And then you're going to provide a sample of your current parent communications. You put all that information into the project folder, run the same prompt, adjust any of the lines that you want to, and it's gonna work. You could provide it wellness policies, attendance policies, dress code, the student behavior code, any policy that you wanted to provide it. This workflow will help you translate that policy into parent-friendly language. It's the same exact workflow. We have 60 workflows just like this one available for school leaders at edleaderai.com. 3 of those are going to be available to you for free to download to get you started. These are going to follow the same kind of structure that we walked through here. You set up a project, you provide the files, run the prompt, and let Claude do the work. The link is in the description below. Join us the next time where I'm going to walk you through how to prepare a 4-document meeting brief in just under 5 minutes. I'll see you then.